All right. It is Dave here from Amplify, talking to Matt O'Gorman from British India. G'day, Matt. How are you?
Mate, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk. I think some of the you'd appreciate. I think that over the course of time, and you guys have been going for 15 years around. Over the course of time, you start somewhere, and you get really. It's a very measurement based environment industry, this TikTok world we're in. So you're always feeling good enough, not good enough, or whatever. And you always feel like when you're talking to people about something or other, and they've got this status or whatever the situation is, you wonder how they think about you, or you say, will you share, or will you do this, or will you do that? And from a conscious perspective, of course, you'll share everything. Who cares? We'll just work out how to, if I need to do that relative to this or that or whatever. But when you're not, when you feel small or big or whatever the situation is, you go through that sort of process. So it's always, when you say it's a pleasure to talk to you, it is a pleasure to talk to you. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Absolutely.
Very kind.
We've been following you for years, as we have. For any new fans, how did the band come together? Where did it all begin?
We all met at school. So Nick and I were close friends, and Deck and Will were close friends too. And then the three of them just started jamming. And they used to practice at Deck's house. And then I kind of mentioned to the guys that I had a drum kit. I used to play drums, and we had a billiard room at my parents' house, and we kind of set up there, and we just started playing all the time. Any spare moment we had, we'd get together and play. And then, as we left school and we started, odd jobs here and there, we'd rehearse every night after I'd finish at the fruit shop.
Really?
Our poor neighbours looking back at that. Yeah, we used to start at like 8 o'clock. And then as soon as we could play any gig, that's how it just kind of started. Mum and dad, our parents used to drop us off before we were 18. And then once Nick got his license.
Where was this? What state?
Melbourne, Victoria.
Melbourne, yeah.
And then it just kind of happened from there. So, yeah, looking back on it, it seems like a while ago, but really fun days.
Where were you gigging in Melbourne?
The Duke of Windsor on Chapel Street, which is now Lucky Cock. The Tote. Oh my God, Ding Dong Lounge. Cherry Bar. The Evelyn.
Did you find success relatively early? Like, did you get accepted relatively early? Did you find people, trying to grab you for different events or for tours, or did this take? How long did that take before you were sort of in that sort of realm?
So we met our first manager, Neil Wedd. He used to run he used to run a band night that used to kind of get young and upcoming bands play, and we kind of went there one night and played and got a good review. And as a result of that, we got a few more kind of bigger gigs. We played, support to like Grinspoon and Spiderbait. Cool. So yeah, looking back on it now, yeah, there were, but we started really early and we gigged really hard. We're doing like 4 nights a week, as much as we can.
How did you keep together? Like, it's a pretty, like you say, every night sort of situation.
Yep.
You can't generally keep a partner for all that long when you're that age.
Yeah, that's true.
How did you keep it all together?
Well, we all just loved it. We all, there wasn't anyone that didn't want to do it and give it a crack. So, any chance we had to go and play, we were pretty determined to kind of get ourselves out there. And sorry.
Was there a driving force? Was there someone that was the driving force that sort of kept it together, or did that change? Did someone?
I don't know. I think maybe different people.
Everyone.
Yeah, I think like at the start it was Nick, our guitarist, for sure. And then we kind of fed off that energy, and then I think you get more confidence the more you kind of go out there and do it. You know what I mean? Like the more you're playing gigs and you're playing to a bit more people, you realize, hey, you can do this, and you get a kind of it's an adrenaline rush as well.
How's that changed over the 15 years? Basically, there's got to be someone there that's got married, or someone that's got a mortgage, or someone that's this or got that, and that tends to put in a different sort of equation for when you're touring, or when you've got to pay this, and someone does and they don't, and all that sort of stuff. So how did that change over the 15 years?
Well, I don't know. I think like now the position that we're in, because everyone has jobs 9 to 5, which everyone loves, getting the chance, it's a newfound appreciation for it. We feel really lucky, you know, especially after COVID. You know, you don't know what you got till it's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And even though we weren't necessarily releasing new music around that time, we were still gigging a lot. And you know, it's kind of great. It runs parallel to what we're doing. You know, we're not writing any new music at this stage, but we're just going around and you know, playing the songs that we've been playing for the last.
Performing.
Exactly. So, you know, and it's good to just kind of, you know, we've made friends everywhere we go. So it's almost like a holiday, and you know, we get to do this awesome thing, which is playing music as well.
How would you describe your sound?
I don't know. I'd say it's kind of indie rock, I guess. Looking back on it, yeah, I guess that's the way. Yeah, indie rock, I'd say. It's weird. I was kind of like, yeah, listening to some of our songs on shuffle the other day, getting ready to play these shows, and you know, pretty proud of looking at the body of work that we've done. You know, over that time, it's pretty cool to kind of, you know, go back and listen to, you know, albums from start to finish and be like, yeah, you know, that's cool. I'm really proud of that.
And you know, the Guillotine in 2007 was up for awards and all that sort of stuff. So fans resonated pretty early with the music. Is that, do you think that's because of the enthusiasm that you brought, or you thought, you know, there's some, is it the music itself, or a combination?
Yeah, a combination. You know, we'd been working pretty hard before then, and we were really kind of ready to kind of spread our wings and go around the country. So when we released it, I think all that hard work and, you know, all those years of playing, it really does make a difference, I think, when you kind of, you leave the nest, you know, because you've had enough practice. You know, that's why, you know, the longer you get to kind of play gigs before, you know, people hear your music, it's for the best, because you're a well-oiled machine by the time it takes off, and you're kind of ready for anything going wrong as well. Like if there's an amp that breaks or the drum, you know how to handle every situation.
The 6 albums. What's the evolution been with the 6 albums? Is it much more of the same, or have you found that you've made different sort of changes and, you know, evolutions in your music?
Yeah, definitely. I think when we first started writing, it was the 4 of us jamming in the back room, and by the time we did our 6th, you know, it was, you know, different people in the studio at different times, you know, different ideas. You know, definitely we're working with Oscar Dawson, our producer, as well, and you know, trying different methods of you know, trying different instruments, structure, sound, production. I think, you know, you have more of an idea of what you want sometimes, as when you're kind of starting, you get in there and you bash it out, which is pretty exciting too. Looking back on it, we worked with Harry Vander, and that was so much fun in Sydney.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, so that was great. And yeah, there has been an evolution. I think the, you know, songwriting's matured. But yeah, in saying that was still, yeah, that was 7 years ago now since the last time we put out an album. So we need to get moving. Yeah,
get moving. And what about you know, social media, streaming, and all that? That's changed a lot over the last 15 years. How have you come to terms with all that sort of hullabaloo and the recent sort of push for labels to throw you, you know, into TikTok and all that sort of stuff?
Well, it's weird. We never really made a lot of money off albums, so I guess we never really noticed the difference once it went to streaming. I guess, you know, music's more accessible now, which you know, we meet people and they say, "Hey, we found your band on a playlist," which is something that wouldn't have happened, you know, you know, before Spotify and stuff. And you know, you kind of lose that art of listening to an album start to finish now. You know, it is really more about singles. But look, I don't think it's too bad. You know, it gets your name out there, and you know, you look at your analytics and you can be like, well, you know, we're getting played in Mexico, or, you know, in places that you wouldn't dream that your band would be getting played. So, I mean, there's a cool aspect with that as well.
That's cool. Huge congrats on the recent ARIA platinum and gold record status for I Can Make You Love Me and Suddenly.
Yeah.
How do you deal with accolades like that, especially when you say that you're all working 9-to-5 jobs and that sort of stuff? And also Declan's statement, for a band that's always felt like outsiders, too nerdy, too abrasive, too badly dressed, hitting milestones like gold and platinum feels so satisfying.
Yeah, it's really weird. It gives you a newfound appreciation, and these things don't really come around that often. So the fact that these two things happened at once, you know, during lockdown, it was just a really pleasant surprise. You know, it makes you feel really proud. You know, especially when you get to see them as well, you get to hang them up in your house. You're like, wow, that is that's really something. It's something physical that you can look at, and it's quite a cool achievement. And you see, for us, we haven't had too many gold and platinum singles. Some artists getting them every month or whatever, but we it's pretty rare for us, so it was pretty special.
Well done. After 1,000 headline shows, I mean, that's just unbelievable. I'm sure you know how to entertain an audience like pros. What's planned for the upcoming tour? What can the fans expect?
Well, just all the songs they all their favorites. We're not going to hit the road and play obscure album tracks that people don't know. We're going to play the songs that people like. And we've been practicing a fair bit too. So if someone wants to yell out something that they haven't heard in a while, we're doing that as well. Our first kind of few shows in Perth, we had some fans scream out some songs that we hadn't played in a while, and we just kind of went straight into it. I think that's what it is. This tour is really fun.
And that was good. The Perth stuff went well.
Yeah, well, we're still here, so we've still got 4 more gigs to go. Okay. So yeah, I think like now, I was talking about it with the guys at dinner last night. It's just so much fun to be able to do this, get away, and more than anything, it's just catching up with the guys, because we don't really see each other that much, when we're back in Melbourne, because of life goes quickly. You're working, and so it's a great chance to kind of get away and hang out with the guys, because we spent so much of our life doing it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, who is supporting the I suppose it's different in every state, I presume.
We've got a band called 6th Avenue out of Perth, which are really good. So yeah, they did the first shows with us, and they're jumping on for the second leg, so they're great up and comers.
Terrific. Talking about performing, one of those corny questions: if you could perform with any music artist, alive or dead, who would you choose and why?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's funny, we kind of got to do that with this. We supported the Stones.
Fair dinkum.
Yeah, we supported the Stones.
Where did you support them?
Hunter Valley, New South Wales.
Wow.
Well, we were supposed to actually. We were supporting him with this band out of Sydney called the Preachers. Yeah. And we kind of organised, because they were from Sydney and we're from Melbourne, that they'd headline in Sydney and we'd headline in Melbourne. Hometown shows. And so that was in Hanging Rock in Melbourne. And then the morning of the gig, we had people flying in from everywhere, and families getting buses. The morning of the gig, I woke up to about 20 texts, and all of them started with, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't." Mick Jagger lost his voice and they cancelled the gig. I'm glad you find that funny.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, so we still got to do a show. We still got to meet them, and it was awesome. And so really,
that was a laugh. That was like a an unbelievable laugh. So
no. I know exactly what you mean.
It's so ridiculous. Life throws that sort of thing up at you. It's like, it's an unbelievable thing that's coming up, and it's amazing how
exactly. Yeah,
his voice. He must have done. Well, he's done 50 years of performing, and he just chose that performance to lose his voice.
Exactly. So, in a way, we kind of got to do it. And, just being in that world for a little, that little kind of bubble, how many people are on the road with them, all the family that are there, the big buses, the helicopters, it was everything you could have imagined and more, So it's like we kind of actually got to do it.
And they're pretty cool, I presume. I think most artists that have duration are pretty conscious, because you'd have to be to sort of survive, and they always look to me to be pretty cool sort of people. So it would have been an experience. It would have been
they were lovely. Like, we only got to meet them for a split second, but they were great. They were just very polite, just absolute pros, and the whole band. It just like what we're doing now on a much smaller scale. You got the vibe that they just loved hanging out, and they love playing shows, and it's what they do, and that's why they're the best in the world.
Yeah, and they have been for a long time. What's left? What aspirations you have, especially since you're doing, you're all working and all that sort of stuff. Do you have aspirations to sort of, go full time at all in X period of time, or what are you going to do longer term? Or
no, we won't go back to doing it full time. It's not I think viable. We did it full time for we did it full time for about 15 years. So we just kind of you know, we've done it full time. We've been lucky enough to do it at a great point in our lives, you know, when we were younger. But, you know, I think like everyone's matured now and, you know, pretty career focused. But, you know, like Deck's doing law. It's not easy to
it's impossible.
stop doing law. But it's great because he loves doing it. You know, I'm doing radio and I love it. Will runs one of the best pubs in Melbourne. He loves it. Jack works in film. Like, it's just this really kind of healthy balance that we like. So, and it makes you appreciate it more, you know, when you're not doing it all the time, you know, when you get to do like a one big tour a year, it's something to look forward to.
So you'll do the reunion stuff. You'll come back and, you know, for a tour or something like that, or
yeah, we'll keep touring. Like, it's always been, you know, we haven't necessarily always been one of those bands where we need something to tour. You know, we'll tour because we're like touring, and we're in a position now where lucky where people, you know, they keep coming back. So as long as people keep coming back, we'll keep doing it.
So with that in mind, especially, you know, now that you're working and everyone's happy, etc., what would you say to somebody starting off? What piece of advice would you give them, especially in today's music world? You probably get a pretty good exposure to it with the radio that you do.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint, I think. Yeah. Like anything, like I was saying earlier, you're so much better for putting 3 or 4 years of gigging in before you get your shot. Because if you gig that much, you get better, you get good, you build up an organic fan base, and you know it's so much fun, and you've got so much more experience before you even, you know, you get your first spin on Triple J or you get your first headline spot. If you kind of put in those hard yards beforehand, then you're in a really good position to, you know, kind of get to the next stage. You know, it's not as hard. I think the hardest bit is getting to, you know, getting ahead and getting that kind of first spin on Triple J and, you know, getting that first album out there. You know, that's it. And it's a really enjoyable time as well, that it takes time. Like, you might not, so at times you get frustrated when you're there, but, you know, looking back on it, you're always thankful that you got that experience in before, you know, things kind of went to that next stage.
I think traditional business is trying to turn one customer into an advertiser, because that's basically how you bring more people.
Yeah,
and you get the opportunity to do that at a gig, because you can't do it in this TikTok world. No one stops for long enough to sort of get engaged or invested in what you're doing. But at the gig you can, because you can hold them for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, or someone else's fans if you're supporting or whatever. And if you, like you say, if you get better at that, well, then obviously you're going to convert more people into followers. And
I think, you know, things go wrong when you're coming up. You know, it doesn't always go right. No. And I think that kind of, you know, I spoke to Mark Wilson from Jet, and he said, you know, for 4 years they didn't get any bad news, not one bad phone call, no nothing. And then when they started getting bad news, the whole thing fell apart. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, the longer you kind of, things go wrong and things go right, and you build up, you know, I mean, what happened to Jet was, you know, that happens to 1 in a million bands, and that's, you know, so awesome for them. But it's that same thing. If you build up this kind of mentality where, you know, you power through, then it's a good thing to have. Yeah,
terrific. All right, what's the best thing about performing to a live audience after all this time? And you know, you just did it in Perth. What's the best thing about it? What's the best thing about it, performing to a live audience for you?
Oh, just when it's all clicking and it's all gelling and every song is getting a good reaction. Just the audience. You really feed off when the other guys in the band are enjoying it and when the audience are just getting it. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you'll play a gig and it might be a bit slow to start, but I think, you know, it doesn't matter the size of the gig. It doesn't need to be 10,000 people.
I spoke to someone one time that had done arena gigs and all that sort of stuff, and they said the best gig they'd ever done was to 25 people in some bar in you know, when they were touring through the US in a bus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing that stuck in their mind most, was that one gig, for whatever reason. But that's the thing that sort of gelled. So, you know, again, for most people that in this TikTok world, they start off and they just want publicity for any sake, and it's just not. You learn that's just not what it's about, like you're saying.
Exactly.
And the career highlight, I suppose there's too many to sort of think of.
Look, you know what? I think like it's really, yeah. I mean, getting the Stones thing was great.
Yeah,
Um, I think getting a top 10 album was really good.
yeah,
But I think looking back, the most exciting times were, you know, when you get your first gig at the pub.
breaking.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? When you release your first EP, when you release your first album, because those are things that are, you know, they're happening for the first time.
the
You know,
genuine, the
and
genuine spark.
yeah, yeah, it's like, you know, your first pub gig when you're playing to 6 people at 7 o'clock, but you're counting down the seconds all week. You know what I mean? But another one was, you know, on the other side of that, we got a last minute fill in to headline Blues Fest when the Black Keys couldn't play,
Oh,
and that was just a really kind of
Gainer.
yeah, just a really awesome experience because we got told the day before, so there was no kind of preparation. It was just like, all right, get on the plane, you're going to Blues Fest, and we were there,
And
and
it's
we
a
played
great
to
fest. It's a great festival anyway. So
yeah, we played to like 10,000 people. It
yeah,
was just it was awesome. It was
massive,
incredible.
massive, massive, massive. All right, let's finish with a few tough questions. Laugh out loud for some quick answers. You know, people
Right.
hate these, but I think they're pretty informative. Favorite album?
Let's go Guillotine.
So your own.
Let's go I thought you meant I thought you meant we were talking about us.
Favorite album? No, it can be your own. Of
Oh,
course, it can be.
right.
Why
Okay.
not? It
No.
was a
Sorry,
great album.
sorry. I thought you meant. I thought you
I
meant.
get it. I get it. I get it.
Let's go Strokes. Is this it?
Okay. What about favorite artist?
Let's go Beatles.
Beatles. Favorite movie?
Um,
Some of these are corny, but they're pretty informative sometimes when people give you answers and you sort of say, wow, you know, it sort of tells you something about them.
let's go the original Star Wars, only because I was watching that the other day and it brought back some amazing memories
Really?
of being a kid, just rewatching it over and over and over.
Maddie, I don't think you're old enough to have seen it when it came out, are you?
No. It was the
am.
first. You know, when you're a kid and you have that one movie that you just to watch over and over and over again. It came on the telly the other night and it just brought back just the best memories. And quick fire questions. It's the first thing that's come to mind.
Yeah, I am. You know, I did. I can remember when Indiana Jones came out.
Yeah, nice.
It was the first movie that was all action. You know, just from start to finish, it just was something that just didn't stop.
Yeah.
But I'm old enough to remember first movie I ever went to was The Sound of Music in '65.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
The family. I was only a kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, so those things have a lot of impact. Favorite place to visit?
Let's go to UK.
UK. Favorite venue to play?
The Gov in Adelaide or the Cambridge in Newcastle.
The Gov is pretty cool. It's on top of everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cambridge is cool too.
Yeah.
Favorite food?
Italian.
Italian, as in pasta or pizza or anything specific?
Both. Anything Italian. Pizza, pasta.
I don't think the carbs. Look at you. You know, wait till you get older, that stuff away. Favorite drink?
Sprite.
What soda? So
second to
carbs
water.
and soda.
Carbs and soda. Second to water. Water's my favorite. I drink so much water.
That'd kill me.
Yeah.
Favorite person in history? Like, do you ever do? You're probably not old enough to, you know, really have exhausted this conscious sort of place yet, are you? Or do you get sort of very metaphysical or spiritual or anything like that?
I'm gonna say two people: mum and dad.
Mum and dad. That's cool. That's cool. And do you have a tattoo?
No.
No.
Taking recommendation. What should I get?
No. But I find it hard to understand that, you know, especially a bloody. I bet you everyone else does.
No, mate. No. I'm too pale. If I get you pale people shouldn't get tattoos. They never look good. What have you got?
No. I haven't got any.
Yeah, same.
Pot calling the kettle black.
Yeah.
I remember, you know, I've always been able to tell a story, obviously, and I was up, and I used to be a pawnbroker back in the day for about 20 years. So
all right,
a little bit gangstered or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
I went away with this bad man up to Queensland one time, and you know, he's blonde, as white as like you to some degree, you know,
yeah.
white, and I'm this sort of pale skinned individual. and we were up on the Gold Coast telling females that we'd come into contact with at the bar that were dolphin trainers at SeaWorld. They believed us, of course. So, so you know, you can get away with that pasty look. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for the support. I don't know how the pasty looks going over here in Perth in 35-degree heat, but thank you.
Well, you know, how are you enjoying the radio?
Yeah, Triple M's been awesome. It's one of those things. When we first started doing interviews, I used to go into a radio station and I just used to be like, this is so cool. And my granddad was in radio for 30 years. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I always loved. It just had a pulse going to a radio station. So I love it. And the chance that I get to do an all-Australian music show is a lot of fun. You know, we're just pushing for new music, new Australian bands, and putting them on a big commercial station like Triple M, and just kind of seeing what happens.
That's terrific. When you say your granddad was in for 30 odd years, front or back of house or front?
No, he did a bit of both. He had a show called The Real McCoys, which was a live show he did once a week. Kevin O'Gorman on 3KZ.
That's where I know him from. I know Kevin. Well, I know the name Kevin O'Gorman.
Yeah. So he did radio for a while, and then did sales as well. But yeah, he was on air for a while.
I think there was an O'Gorman too, if I can remember back in the 80s. There was an
Paul, my dad.
Paul
O'Gorman, my dad. He had a one-hit wonder. Ride America.
He wasn't, but there was a solicitor or someone that was in the...
That's him too.
I remember Paul O'Gorman. Where do I know Paul O'Gorman from? Well, you know where I know him? We were doing, I think, back in the early 80s, I managed the Nobody Band, but I was into music, and I think Phil Buckle. Do you know Phil? Phil was in Southern Sons, and he wrote basically half a dozen songs for Whispering Jack.
Yeah, right.
The sweetest guy you've ever met. Terrific. Yeah. And they had, Phil and Greg had Cutters, I think was the name of the band or whatever. And he had a studio, and me as a 20-odd-year-old management trainee, he said that I was looking at buying a studio for like 20 or 30 grand. It was like $40 million, you know. And so I'm sure that I did a management course that actually Gudinski was on as well, or you know, this guy came out from America, and I can't for the life of me. I think Paul had he had something. He was either advertising, or you know, if you were going to if you needed a solicitor or something like some sort of music.
Yeah.
He had a pretty big advertisement, or you know, if you want to look something up, he was the bloke to talk to or whatever. He's your old man.
Yep.
Well, how could you not go into music?
Small world, isn't it?
It's a small world, man. It's
a small world.
Well, it was cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate the conversation.
Oh, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
I hope we can do it again. If you ever need anything from us, just yell out, because we like to think we're relational. You know, sometimes, you know, I spent the last 10 years trying to detach from the personality that I had to some degree and just, you know, be grounded. So we do a lot of what we do here, sometimes without much, you know, intent. You know, we just try and promote music and get in, have something and share around and all that sort of gear in a pretty stupid environment. So, you know, if you need anything, or if we can help out, or you've got any ideas or anything like that, you think that, you know, we or our resources can be a part of, just yell out, man. Because
mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. I love what you guys do. Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been lots of fun.
Well, good luck with the rest of the tour. I hope it goes really well.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get this up. Thanks.
We'll be in touch, all right?
Thank you very much.
No worries. See you, mate.
Bye-bye.